Battle between a sub-brand and a sub-brand of a sub-brand. No, we are an independent company. Well, then stop using MIUI, be independent. So this comparison is not something I was planning to do initially, since I was expecting a solid difference in price. I mean, the base variants of these phones are still 2000 rupees apart. They're quite far apart, but when you look at the whole picture, it's 9000 rupees for the 332 variant. 3GB RAM in 2021 feels a little underwhelming. Bump it up to 4GB RAM and the price goes up to 10,000 rupees, which becomes very close to the Poco M3's 11,000 rupee price tag. And note that this one is 6GB RAM. But yeah, phones are getting expensive. First there was the GST hike, and now Budget 2021, which states there will be customs duty hike for electronics. So the future isn't bright, especially for premium phones from Apple, Samsung, etc. So it's highly recommended to invest some of your earnings to get ready for all the madness in future. If you don't know much about stock market, let me tell you about Small Case. This video is brought to you by Small Case. A small case is basically a group of stocks or ETFs having a specific theme or objective. It's like a music playlist which has a specific theme. And you have great songs from various albums and artists. Except here, the playlists, the small cases, are created and managed by financial experts. Small cases let you have your investments diversified across multiple segments. There are various small cases with different objectives, just like you have multiple music playlists for different moods. Like if you don't want to take risk, you can buy this small case. There is also a small case with the top 100 companies in India. And the best part is you can just log in using your existing broker's account, and when you buy a small case, its shares reflect in your Demat account. So go ahead, check out Small Case, link in the description. However, disclaimer, I'm not an investment advisor or financial expert. Please do your own research before investing. Now, this being a technology jock style comparison will be a very practical one. So I won't focus on features that are pretty much similar on both phones, because they will not or should not affect your buying decision. Other things that perform differently on both phones will be covered in detail. For example, I'll definitely talk about the camera performance and then media consumption, because both phones perform very differently when it comes to those two things. But I'm thinking of skipping things like the build and design, because there is nothing much to talk about. Both are really good, far better than any of the competition. In terms of looks, yes, I like the Poco M3's leather finish better, but yeah, looks are subjective. The Narzo 30A's black variant looks decent. The M3 also comes in black, which is less flashy and more classy. Anyway, both phones are super functional. They're comfortable to hold. They're both almost equally heavy and thick. The back panel on both phones can resist fingerprints and smudges to a great extent, which is a big deal these days. The buttons are rigid. They offer really good tactile feedback. The M3 uses a side-mounted fingerprint scanner, while the 30A uses a rear-mounted fingerprint scanner. Personally, I'm okay with either. I find them both equally comfortable. But the Narzo 30A can unlock way faster. It's done instantly. The M3 takes unusually long. It's weird. Speaking of speed, the M3 sports the Snapdragon 662 chip, while the 30A has the MediaTek Helio G85 chip. Let's go do a mini speed test. Subway Surfers. The Poco M3 opens it first. Temple Run 2. The 30A is marginally faster. YouTube. Almost equally fast on both. Twitter. Again, same. So that's the outline of this mini speed test. Only minor differences in app opening times. Not really a big deal. Let's also do an internet speed test to check the Wi-Fi performance. Okay, both phones are equally good. Next up, a video render test. Loading the same video onto both phones, slowing it down by 50%. Let's render the video in 480p resolution. And the Narzo 30 Pro takes just 3 seconds, while the Poco M3 takes 2 more. Of course, when you render a longer video, this will be even more prominent. The Narzo 30 Pro is about 40% faster here, all thanks to the Helio G85 chip underneath. which is better when it comes to single core performance. It's really good for gaming as well, but I noticed a bit of throttling after 15 to 20 minutes of continuous gameplay. Light games like Headball 2, Basketball Arena run perfectly fine even for half an hour at a stretch. Neither phone faces any issue. But when it comes to heavier games like Call of Duty, the Narzo 30A slows down a bit after 10 to 15 minutes of continuous gameplay. The Poco M3 performed a little better, and even a little better is a big deal because the M3 has a full HD Plus display compared to the Narzo 30A's 720p display. Another important thing to consider is the Poco M3 supports much better graphics on Call of Duty. So overall, the M3 provides a better gaming experience, but when it comes to other tasks, they are more or less similar. Another advantage of Snapdragon chip on the Poco M3 is that it has better support for Google Camera. For Gcam as a stock, watch this video. More importantly, Gcam on Poco M3, specifically on Poco M3, can get some amazing pictures. I even made a camera comparison between the Poco M3 and a 55,000 rupee flagship phone. And it's a surprise. Go watch this video to find out what happened. It was a super fun experiment. The selfies especially, they are the best. They're like flagship level. The Narzo 30A also technically supports Gcam, but it's kind of hard to find a port that works flawlessly. Like some modes or features don't work. However, if you don't like all this Google Camera talk, if you want to just use the camera app that comes with the phone pre-installed, well, bad news, neither phone performs well. They are both pretty average in my opinion. Yes, the Poco M3 has a 48 megapixel camera. Even I thought it would be much better, but the image processing is just poor. Check out this comparison. This was shot using the dedicated 48 megapixel mode on the Poco M3. And you know, it's almost only as sharp as the Narzo 30A's image. Same here. Now what's shocking here is the regular 12 megapixel mode on the Poco M3 can get sharper images. So bottom line, both phones mess up from time to time, be it with regards to colors or with regards to dynamic range. There is some issue or the other which keeps cropping up here and there. Neither camera is very reliable. The only major difference is the Poco M3 clicks sharper images consistently. That's pretty much it. And to be honest, in this price segment, we cannot really expect, even decent camera performance. That'll probably take another 2 years or so. But at least with Gcam, we can get good results these days, and that's something, right? Next up, battery life. Almost equally good. The Narzo 30A lasts maybe 10% longer, even though the battery capacity is the same on both phones. It's 6000 mAh. That's probably due to the lower resolution display. Anyway, I managed to get 2 days battery life on both. And although both phones support 18 watts fast charging, the Poco M3 actually takes around half an hour less to get fully charged. It takes almost 3 hours. The 30A takes about 30 minutes more. Again, not a big deal. Even 3 hours is too long by today's standards. What is a big deal is the display quality. At 10,000 rupees for the 4GB RAM variant, the 30A having a 720p display is definitely disappointing. The M3 has a full HD Plus display, so obviously it's much sharper. Both are LCD panels though, so in terms of colors and contrast, they're pretty similar. But the 30A's display is noticeably brighter, which also helps provide better viewing angles. Yes, both phones struggle outdoors, but with the Narzo 30A, it's a little less hard to see what's going on the screen. But still, overall for media consumption, I prefer the M3. Most of us don't watch movies or TV shows outdoors anyway. And more importantly, the M3 has dual speakers. It's not louder than the Narzo 30A, but the landscape orientation, often the bottom firing speaker gets covered by our hand. So it's good that there is a front firing speaker at the top. So, I mean, dual speakers, that's an obvious advantage over a single speaker. So there are a few more differences worth noting. The M3's display is protected by Gorilla Glass 3. The 30A doesn't have one. The M3 has an infrared blaster, so you can control many of your electrical appliances using the Mi Remote app. It would be cool if I just did something and one of these lights turned off, but unfortunately these don't work on infrared. So anyway, I'll save that cool scenario for some other video. Anyway, the M3 has UFS 2.1 storage, which is generally faster than the eMMC storage on the Narzo 30A, but in our mini speed test, as you saw, there was not a big difference. The M3 has a 2 megapixel macro camera, while the Narzo 30A doesn't. Of course, you'll probably never use it, but still. Last but not least, software. I'm gonna leave this to you because at this point in 2021, it's just personal preference. MIUI 12 and Realme UI both are currently based on Android 10, but they will soon be upgraded to Android 11. Both are really good interfaces. They have their own pros and cons. Realme UI offers slightly better experience in my opinion, with less bloatware and no annoying ads. And MIUI is slightly more matured, and you can uninstall all the unwanted apps, and you can also disable those annoying notifications as well. So overall, this section is not a huge factor. So overall, this is what we have. The Narzo 30A is not as bad I initially thought it was. You know, by just looking at the spec sheet, that's all I could deduce. But after using them, after comparing them side by side, I don't feel the same anymore. Now, as expected, in real life, the spec sheet did not matter all that much. But obviously, it's still not, it still did not manage to outperform the Poco M3. But if you have a strict budget of 9,000 rupees, then maybe the Narzo 30A is a decent deal. But if you have a budget of 10K, instead of buying the 4GB RAM variant of the Narzo 30A, I suggest getting the Poco M3 by spending another 1,000 rupees. You get a higher resolution display, slightly better gaming performance, infrared blaster, dual speakers, and slightly faster charging. And yeah, you get amazing photos via Google Camera. So overall, the M3 is clearly the better option. But for some reason, if you prefer a brighter display, even if it's low resolution, and if you want that extra 10 to 15% battery life, and if you prefer Realme UI, then the Narzo 30A is not that bad of a deal at 10K. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Maybe hit the like button, subscribe to Technology Jock, and hit the bell icon if you liked this comparison, of course. Also, don't forget to check out Small Case, link in the description. So that's it. See you in the next one. Bye and take care.